Hello students, how are you all? I hope all of you are amazing. So let's start our session with a beautiful quotation. Today is your opportunity to build the tomorrow you want, right? So you have to do your best in order to get the admission in the good medical colleges or whatever you want. You have to work for that today itself. So do your best every day, right? So let's start our session. I'm Rajni Mamgai. Welcome you here at the Physics Wala Gulf. And today we have to summarize the chapter evolution. I hope you have seen the summary of other chapters also. Right? So summary means we are just going to brief about the chapter in a short sequence way. So let's start it. And today we will be seeing all the topics of the evolution. So when we talk about evolution, this chapter, when we talk about evolution, this chapter actually have two parts. That is, we will see origin of life, how the life has originated. And once we have seen the origin of life, then we will see how it get evolved to form the diversity of organism that we see in today's world, right? So that means that after that, we will see the evolution of life. So the life that has originated, how it will evolve now. So in the evolution of life, we will see theories, all the theories that explain the evolution, theories of evolution, of origin of life. Then we will see the all evidences, all the proof, all the evidences of evolution. Then we will see the mechanism. What is the mechanism? What are the forces behind the evolution? Mechanism of evolution. And then we will see the human evolution. So this is the major part that we have to cover in the whole chapter, right? So let's start our session and let's explore the evolution topic. So when we talk about all these things, let's see everything in detail way, all the things that I have written on the board. And yes, let's start our session with the term evolution. What do you understand by evolution? So that means gradual changes, or there is the changes in organisms. It can be animals or the plants. So they are changing gradually, right? And it takes millions of years them to be evolved. So that is the evolution. That means changes, right? So evolution is nothing but the changes. But the changes in living organism. They can be anything, plants, animals, right? So changes in living organisms. It can be flora and fauna. And that have occurred over million years on earth. So this process take million years on earth. So this is the evolution. Now we will see the unit of evolution. So how do we consider that a particular species or particular organism is changing? So if that change is present in all the population of that species, that means we will say it evolution. Evolution is basically seen in the population, not in individual, right? So when we talk about the unit of evolution, so we have to find out the evolution or changes in the whole population. So unit of evolution is nothing but the whole population. So unit of evolution is nothing but the population. Got it? You have to remember it. Next. So when we talk about the evolution, it's the random process, right? It's happening very randomly. Randomly means we don't know that what exactly is going to happen, although it will be gradual, but it will be having the random changes according to the environment, right? So it is the stochastic. Stochastic means random. It is stochastic process. Means by chance it happened, right? Stochastic process based on chance event, or random based on chance event. And when we talk about the evolution in organisms, so the organism who are having the more lifespan or who are having the large lifespan, they will be evolved less slowly, right, in comparison to the organism who are having the short lifespan, like in case of bacteria, so they have short life cycle, right? So they are having the ability to change a lot, so a lot of mutation can be seen in organism, in microorganism, in comparison to human and all, right? So one thing is clear, that lifespan or their life cycle, right, their lifespan or life cycle is always inversely proportional to the evolution in organism. So means the organism having the long life cycle or long lifespan, they are less susceptible for the evolution, or in evolution will occur very slow in them, right? So next we are just going to see the origin of life. Let's start with the origin of life. So if we talk about origin of life, first of all, we will see the origin of universe, then we will see the origin of earth, and then we will see some theories, right? So let's start with the origin of life, and the first thing we will understand origin of universe, and for that the accepted hypothesis is Big Bang theory. So Big Bang, according to Big Bang theory, right? This is basically talk about the origin of life. So 20 billion years ago, origin of universe happened. How? By Big Bang. I mean, this theory actually explained the origin of universe, right? So we will see how origin of universe happened. So suppose the matter in the cosmos means universe, started, I mean, there is some force in the universe, there is some supreme force in the universe that is attracting this matter, or that is basically, you know, attracting this matter and condensing them, right? So actually there was a force which were attracting or just pulling all the matter and condensing them, right? So all the cosmic matter, some force were there that were pulling all the cosmic matter and condensing it, right? So cosmic matter got condensed, condensation of the cosmic matter happened, and obviously when they got so much condensed, their thermonuclear reaction started happening, a lot of the nuclear reaction, because, you know, all the particles, molecules are basically, you know, colliding with each other and producing a lot of energy. So when they condensed a lot, when that force that is present in our environment start pulling them together in a very condensed form, then one day a lot of reaction were happening, thermonuclear reaction were happening, right? Thermonuclear reaction. And this reaction caused a huge explosion. This reaction caused in the cosmic matter huge explosion that you cannot imagine at the physical level. That explosion is so huge, you cannot even imagine at the physical level. It was that huge. So that means when it got exploded, what will happen because of that? This is known as Big Bang. Big Bang means a big blast. And because of this Big Bang, because of this huge explosion, all the things got scattered. All the things got scattered. All the particles, matter got scattered, right? So release of gases, release of hydrogen, release of helium gases happened because of the explosion. And second, universe got expand. Because of that huge explosion, universe got expand, right? So yes, what happened? Universe got expand. After that, universe got expanded. An increase in volume increase a lot, and billion of galaxies were formed. Billion of galaxies were formed, right? Billion of galaxies were formed. This is something which you have to remember. Next, now we will see And when billion of galaxies form like this, so we are having the gaseous cloud, right? So we are having gaseous cloud and stars in it. So we are having the gaseous cloud and star in it, right? So this is the gaseous cloud. So a lot of the such gaseous cloud with the stars has been formed. A lot of the galaxies has formed in this form, right? So now this is how the origin of universe happened. We will see the origin of solar system. So what happened there? There is another theory for the origin of solar system. Let's see. Another theory for the origin of solar system is nebular hypothesis. Nebular hypothesis is for origin of solar system and our earth also. Origin of solar system. So we will see what is the theory behind the origin of solar system. So let's see it. These are the gaseous cloud. These are the gaseous cloud, present in our galaxies. Gaseous cloud. And these gaseous cloud got condensed, right? So obviously they got condensed. They got condensed. And because of that, again, some reaction happened and they got exploded, right? They got scattered. So these gaseous cloud, when got condensed, known as nebula. So gaseous cloud also known as nebula. So these gaseous cloud is nebula. And now what will happen? Obviously these clouds will exploded. Explosion, exploded, blast. They got blast, right? So exploded, and because of that, they arranged in such a way, exploded and scattered into pieces. Scattered into pieces. How it got scattered into pieces? Let's see. So they get scattered into pieces in such a way that they have formed the central mass known as sun. They have formed the central mass known as sun. And in the periphery of the sun, various planets, asteroids, meteoroids has been formed, right? So around the periphery of the sun, we have seen planet, we have seen, stars, we have seen asteroids, we have seen meteoroids. So all these are formed. So this is how Earth formation, planet, solar system has been formed, and obviously our Earth has been formed. So this is formed from the gaseous cloud or nebula. Gaseous cloud is nebula. So they got condensed and then they got exploded and scattered into pieces. Center piece is known as sun, and around its periphery we are having different planet, meteoroids, stars and asteroids, right? So now let's see ahead that when does the origin of Earth happened. So origin of Earth happened around 4.5 billion years ago. This is something which you have to remember. And origin of life happened approximately 500 million after origin of Earth. So that means origin of life happened after 500 million later after the formation of Earth. So means approximately 4 billion years ago. So you have to remember this, right? So next we will see the early theories for, so we have seen the origin of Earth, origin of universe. After that we will see how the origin of the life happened on Earth, right? So let's see the early theories, early theories of origin of life. Early theories for origin of life. That is explaining about origin of life. So let's see how exactly origin of life happened. And these early theories don't have the scientific proof. Rather, it is based on the observation, which is non-scientific, right? They don't have any proof for that. A very, very scientific proof, right? So let's see what are those early theories. So, according to them, first theory is the theory of special creation given in our book, theory of special creation and CRT. So according to this, this is the religious theory actually. right? It is nothing but the religious theory. Religious theory means, according to it, some special force is there which has created earth as it is. It has not undergone any change. It was same as God has created it. It will remain same in the future also. There is no change. It will remain constant from since the time it has been created, and it will remain same in the future also. So that is the special creation theory. So it talks about that all living organism are same as they created before, right? So nothing has changed. So we can see, these are our eyes. So suppose our earth used to have it, since the creativity, it used to have, trees, it used to have birds, it used to have animals, it used to have humans, means everything were there, and it is same, it is constant. So one thing is clear, that all living organism that we see today were created as such. There is no change, right? So all living organisms are same as they were created. No change has happened in them, right? So second special creation, second point is diversity was always same in the past, in the present, and in the future. There is the same diversity every time. So same diversity since creation, and it will remain same in future, and will remain same in future also. There will be no change. Whatever God has created, that special force has created earth the way it was, it is same since then, right? No change has happened. And third, according to them, earth is not so, like, earth has not formed 4.5 billion years ago. It is so recently formed. It is formed around 400 years ago, 4,000 years ago, which is again very, very, wrong thing, right? So earth is about 4,000 years old. So it's very recent. It's not so old. It's very, very recent, right? So, but all these things are not correct. And it was disapproved by, it was challenged by the Charles Darwin natural selection. That we'll see in the natural selection part, right? So obviously these kind of theories were challenged ahead by some modern theories, right? So now second early theory was the theory of spontaneous generation. What was the second theory? Theory of spontaneous generation, as the name suggests. Spontaneous means spontaneously, right? Spontaneous generation or abiogenesis. Abiogenesis means non-living. It has been created from the non-living. So according to this theory, non-living things on earth has originated into origin or form the living organism. So according to this theory, that they are spontaneously created from the non-living. According to them, what they have seen, there is a room, closed room, having the pot, having some, rotten, having some, bad things, mud, straw there in the room. And suddenly out of nowhere from there, a rat has come out. So according to them, if you keep a room closed and with all these rotten things there, decayed thing there, then mice will come out from there. It's not true that mice is coming from these rotten things. No, mice has come from the mice which are already existing. So that was purely on the observation. They have observed it and they have generalized it. But again, it's not true, right? So that means, according to them, living organisms are created. Yeah, right? So according to them, living came out. Living came out of decaying matter. Decaying, or you can say the rotten matter, right? Decaying, rotting matter like straw, mud, etc. So this is something which you have to remember. But again, it was disapproved by the theory of biogenesis, right? So biogenesis means actually from the biogenesis, they used to say that life always comes from the life. Non-living suddenly not, spontaneously not, creating the living, right? So it was disapproved by what? So it was disapproved by, it was disapproved by theory of biogenesis. And generally they have discussed about only the Louis Pasteur, but obviously theory of biogenesis were explained by three scientists, Reddy, Splanzani, and Pasteur. So I'll be talking about the basic idea of these three scientists, right? So when we talk about theory of biogenesis, it was given by three scientists. They have given experiment. They have done some experiment. Reddy, Splanzani, and Louis Pasteur. But in our book, they just have mentioned the name Louis Pasteur. So in case they ask question, they ask you question that which of these, scientists has actually done the experiment to disapprove the spontaneous generation, you will write down the Louis Pasteur because it's given in our NCERT. Although all these three have given the theory of biogenesis, means life arises from the pre-existing life. What was this theory? On the basis of their experiment, life arises from pre-existing life. Pre-existing life. That means omnis vivum ex vivo, right? So what does it mean? It means life arises from the pre-existing life. So they have done certain experiment that we will see. So yes, they have done certain experiments that we are going to see. Let's see their experiment. Let's see the experiment of Louis Pasteur first, or Reddy's first, right? So let's see the experiment done by the Reddy. So what was his experiment? What he has done? Suppose he has taken a jar. This is the jar, open jar, and having the killed meat or yeast, right? So you can say killed yeast or meat. So what he saw that after some days, flies are coming in that killed yeast and laying the egg, right? Laying the egg, and their larva, egg converting into the maggot larva. So maggot larva is the name of the flies larva, right? So house flies larva is known as maggot larva. So he found that maggot larva is on the killed yeast, and then that maggot larva converting into flies, right? So it doesn't mean that killed yeast is able, or killed yeast is actually forming the flies. No. So then what he has done, this is the first time, this is the first experiment. Then he took the jar and closed it with the muslin cloth. Why muslin cloth? Because from the muslin cloth, it's very thin. So smell of the killed yeast or meat. So smell of the killed yeast or meat can go out, right? So this smell can go out. So flies are getting attracted towards the jar, but they cannot enter as it is covered with the muslin cloth. So flies are getting attracted towards that rotten smell and laying egg there, which is converting into larva, right? So these maggot larva or their eggs are present there on the muslin cloth, right? In the second condition. And in the third condition, this is the jar which is completely sealed. Sealed means there is not even no smell or no air can be gone out, right? So we have again written, kept the killed yeast, or you can say meat piece, right? So what he has seen, that no smell can go out, so there is no flies around the jar. So this jar is sealed. This is the sealed jar. So that means no smell is going out, and there is no chance that housefly can attract it towards this jar anyway. So that means there were no maggot larvae or flies around. So it proved us that in the first condition, we have seen the flies coming out of maggot larva. It has not come from the killed yeast, but it was laid by the housefly, and then only these flies has formed from the larva. In the second case, flies were not able to enter inside, so they started laying egg on the muslin cloth itself. So it shows, this experiment shows us that these, these flies could not be formed without the egg, and that egg laid by the flies only. So that means life coming from the life, right? So second experiment done by the Louis Pasteur. So what he has seen, he has just taken the swan neck flask to do his experiment, swan neck flask. So what he has done, so he just have taken this swan neck flask having this long neck, right? And then in this flask he has taken this, nutrient medium, broth or nutrient medium. So he has put some nutrient medium inside it. And he started heating it, right? So he heated it to sterilize it. So heated it, and this is got sterilized. Sterilized means without any bacteria, microorganism inside it. And air, we know that air contain bacteria. Air contain bacteria in it. So it was trying to enter inside, but as it is having the long neck, so some bacteria actually get accumulated in this initial portion, and they are not able to reach to the long, passing through the long neck to here, to the broth. So this broth was not spoiled in first condition. So what we have seen, no bacteria in the first condition, as bacteria got trapped in the neck only, and they are not able to reach the broth medium. In the second condition, what he has done, he cut the neck, right? So then he cut the neck of the flask. Cut the neck of flask. And what he has seen, that, and heated broth is there, right? So again, he heated the broth to make it sterilized. This is broth, nutrient medium. He heated it, right? So that it can get sterilized. No bacteria will remain in it. So air were directly entering inside it with bacteria, air containing bacteria, and they have spoiled the broth. So after some time we have seen spoiled broth. So this is the second thing he has done. And in the third time, what he has seen, that he have taken again the long neck flask, and this time he tilted the flask little, right? He tilted the flask this side way. So suppose this is the neck, and he tilted the flask, right? So some nutrient has come till here. So when he's tilting it, so some nutrient is coming out, and air with the bacteria entering and spoiling the broth, right? So he tilt the flask, and see bacteria were present in the broth now, right? So tilt flask sideway. So why he has done that? So that bacteria that is trying to come in with the air will be able to come in contact with the broth and start dividing itself, and will spoil the broth. And same thing happened. So bacteria were present and spoiled the broth. So in the first condition, so out of all, what is our conclusion? That the bacteria is spoiling the broth. Bacteria enters in the broth via the air, because they were present in the air, right? But it was not formed from the broth itself. Bacteria has not come from the broth itself, from the nutrient itself. Rather, it has come from the outside. Got it, G? So this is something which you have to remember. So that means, again, they are just trying to make us understand that it is that spoilage of liquid. That spoilage of liquid happened because of the spoilage, means bacterial growth in it, right? Bacterial growth in it was caused by bacteria present in air. Bacteria in air. So this bacteria has not come from the broth itself, has not arises in the broth itself. Rather, it has come from the air, because it was present in air there, right? So that means life always arising from the pre-existing life. Bacteria are growing from the pre-bacteria, not they are arise from the broth itself, right? So this is the experiment, and which has given us definite proof of the, life biogenesis theory, life originating from the life. Last theory, early theory, is the cosmozoic. So what is the cosmozoic theory? So cosmozoic, as the name suggests, or panspermia, we also called it panspermia theory. Panspermia means pans object, right? So what is the theory of panspermia? This is one planet. Suppose it is some different planet, right? Planet, and this is our Earth. So according to some philosopher, this planet has some spores in it, has some seed in it, which is considered a unit of life. Spores or seeds, you can say, which is considered unit of life. Means they are able to give rise the small unit of life, right? Small units of life has transferred. These life has transferred to Earth. So transferred from another planet, right? Or this transferred known as panspermia. So from one planet to other, panspermia, right? They are getting transferred. As you can see, they are transferring from one planet to another planet. So means in our Earth, life, origin of life, or life, the particles of life has come from the other planet. So this is the panspermia, or you can say this, cosmozoic theory, right? So that's all about the ancient theory. Now we will see some modern theories for the origin of life. So in which we will see the Operan and Hedden, right? So let's see the origin of life. Modern theory of origin of life. So what is modern theory? Let's discuss it. Modern theory. Theories of origin of life. How the life has originated on Earth. So when we talk about the modern theories of origin of life, in this we will see first theory is the chemical theory. So what is chemical theory? Chemical theory means inorganic compounds gave rise the organic compound via some chemical reaction, and then organic compound, first simple organic compound has formed, after that complex organic compound has formed, and then life were originated, right? So we'll see how exactly this happened. So this chemical evolution theory was given by Operan, Russian scientist, Operan, and Hedden from the England, right? So these two scientists has given us the chemical origin of life. So they have given this hypothesis. Operan has written a book, right, known as Origin of Life. So he wrote a book in which he has explained about the origin of life in detail. Origin of life, and both of them has given their theory on origin of life. That means via the chemical method. So we know that primitive Earth was so severe, right? So when we see the condition in the primitive Earth, so what was their theory? That inorganic compounds formed organic compounds, right? So organic compounds are formed from the inorganic compounds by certain chemical reaction in the primitive Earth. And primitive Earth was so suitable for the origin of life that you have to remember, right? So you can say that primitive Earth had so extreme condition which was suitable for the origin of life, right? So what was the condition on primitive Earth? It was having so extreme condition. So what extreme condition used to have in the primitive Earth? It used to have very, very high temperature, approximately 800 degree or more than that, right? Temperature. Next, it used to have energy source UV rays directly coming on Earth because we didn't have any ozone layer, right? No ozone layer in the primitive Earth. So UV rays were directly coming inside the Earth. And plus we didn't have no free oxygen. So means our Earth was reducing, right? Reducing means no oxidizing reaction. Reducing Earth. And this condition is most appropriate for, this is the most appropriate for origin of life. Appropriate for origin of life in this earth. No origin of life can be possible because now our earth is oxidation, and oxidation means oxygen, free oxygen is present, so that oxygen will degrade the organic matter. So that means most appropriate for what? For the origin of life, for origin of life, right? Origin of life. Plus in the primitive earth, a lot of you can say a lot of the volcanic eruption were there. So frequent volcanic eruption were there. And because of all volcanic eruption, what used to happen? This molten lava used to come outside along with the gas. It used to releases a lot of gases. Releases water vapor, CO2, methane, ammonia, etc., etc., used to be evolved from here, right? Used to come out from here, from the volcanic eruption. So these conditions were seen in the primitive earth that were so favorable for the origin of life. So what happened? What happened gradually? This, as this as this, methane or ammonia were coming out, right? And water were broken down in presence of UV rays. UV rays used to break down the water into hydrogen, ion, and oxygen. And as oxygen were not used to present in the free form, so it used to, no free oxygen used to present at that time. So this oxygen used to react with methane or ammonia, right? To form CO2 water, to form CO2 water. And this hydrogen was used to be lighter in weight. So lighter mass or weight. So used to escape the earth, escape from the environment, right? So that is something which you have to remember, that it used to escape and oxygen used to react with the methane to form the CO2 and water. So now, gradually ozone layer, gradually a lot of changes happen. Gradually a lot of the, oxygen releasing organism came on earth. Ozone layer started forming, and because of that, temperature started going down, right? So, gradually what happened, little bit temperature started going down, right? Temperature has reduced. And because of that, water condensation started. Water condensation started, means they started forming into clouds and started falling on the earth surface. So this is the earth surface. So this rain started washing off the earth surface, and this is the depression on earth. So early earth used to have some depressions also. So these depression started getting filled with the rain, and the some minerals that is on the earth started getting washing off and started filling here, right? So that means this rain which poured on earth started washing the mineral on earth and started filling them in the depression. So here these depression filled with the some leaching or washing off minerals on earth, minerals or some elements on earth. And that water with the minerals, with the elements, with some, some kind of all the washing of the things that is mixed with the water, known as the hidden soup, right? So that rain which were washing off the earth surface, having certain minerals, right? So that getting mixed with the water and start filling in the depression. So this water which is deposited here called hidden soup. Hidden soup. So some reaction started happening between those minerals and water, and that is started producing the hidden soup, also known as prebiotic soup, right? prebiotic soup, or we also called it the prebiotic means before formation of the what we can original cell, right? So this held in soup, prebiotic soup, started getting depositing here. So what is present in it? Water and some washing of minerals in it, present in it, right? That is known as held in soup. So this held in soup has some organic compound now, because some inorganic minerals started reacting with the water. So now we will see the same experiment done by the student of the Helden and Operin, right? Helden and Operin, a student, that is the this Urey and Miller. So these were the two scientists who were the student of these two people. So they actually have demonstrated the same thing experimentally in lab. So they just have given this theory about the reaction, that how the inorganic convert into organic this way, right? Water start reacting with the mineral and deposited soup here, which is having some organic compound also, and gradually a lot of the things has formed, right? So the whatever they have said here was experimentally given by the Stanley and Miller experiment. So this is the Stanley and Miller experiment, sorry, Miller and Urey experiment. So you have to remember, this is the Urey and Miller experiment. Urey and Miller experiment. So what is the Urey and Miller experiment? These were the students of those scientists who has actually told them. And these two scientists has actually put them in the experimental form in the lab. So it is very ideal. It is very, controlled experiment of the things that actually they have told in the last, theory, right? So they actually have made everything in such a way, they have just added vacuum pump in the system so that there will be no air. All the air will be pumped out by this vacuum pump, boiling water, which is equivalent to steam, because earlier environment used to have very high temperature, so water used to be present in the steam form. So water in the steam form is coming in this spark chamber. This electrode actually simulating, it is same as the electric discharge, because earlier thundering used to happen, right? So is equivalent to that thundering. And he has used this electrode approximately 7500 volt. So this was the current, this was the voltage of those electrodes, right? Approximately 75,000 volt, not 100,000 volt, right? What was the temperature inside? So they put the temperature approximately 800 degrees Celsius. And they have set up this experiment for 18 days. They have set up this experiment for 18 days, right? So they have just used the mixture of the gases like methane. They have uses ammonia, methane and hydrogen, right? Hydrogen, ammonia and methane. In what proportion? 2:1:2. So this is something you have to remember. So it was filled with these three gases. Now the gases react with each other, and now they are just coming down. And we have put the condenser here. So from the condenser, we are putting the cool water and taking the hot water out. What is the purpose of condenser? That this pipe, a lot of the reaction is happening at high temperature. So obviously after reaction, some reactive product is coming here, and we are just pouring water, cold water, so that heatness of the reaction will be taken by these condenser, and then hot water will be released out from here. So now after getting cooled down, they just got settled here in the trap. And this trap is nothing, is trapping all the product that is formed from the reaction occurring in the spark chamber, right? So in this spark chamber, all these gases, which is present in the 2:1:2 NEET question, they will ask you that at what proportion these gases are present in the spark chamber that is used by the Stanley and Miller. So you have to remember this ratio. And after getting cooled down, they are just getting deposited here in the trap. As you can see, this U-shaped trap, right? This U-shaped trap. So it's a U-shaped trap. So after 18 days, what he found that in this trap, it is equivalent to the Helden soup. So it is equivalent to the Helden soup or prebiotic soup that I have told you, right? So means this soup has the reaction product of all these things, of all the three chemicals and with the water, and it get deposited here. So what he found that in the Helden soup, what he found after 18 days, what was the conclusion, what he have found? So the conclusion of the experiment, the whatever he found, so it was amino acid. They found amino acid, plus they found some peptide chain. So amino acid, like they have found alanine, they have found glycine, they have found this aspartic acid, right? So all these amino acid were found in that chamber, in that, trap. So we have found all these things from the trap. These are the organic matter. So you know what, in this experiment, it was so controlled. It was a closed system. It was happening in the closed system, and they have not used any UV rays and all. So other several scientists, they have used various source of energy like UV rays and other source of energy also. Plus they have changed the raw material. They have changed it with the other inorganic matter also. And they found that they have got the carbohydrate, they have got the protein, they have got the nitrogenous base, they have got the pigments, a lot of the organic matter they have got. So finally, it was acceptable for the origin of life, right? So they have finally got the organic matter from these inorganic. So from these inorganic, they have got the organic material. So hence proved. So in this way, Helden and Operin experiment were proved by their two students, right? So I hope this is clear to everyone. Now let's move towards the other evidences for origin of life is biological evidences. So what is the biological evidences? No, or we also called it biogeny. So according to this, the protobionts, or the compound or the structure that is responsible to form the first cell should have these character, right? So biogeny we have not got proof of this, but we have done the experiment in the lab to consider that the same experiment perhaps happened in the environment. It was more acceptable, right? It was more acceptable. So it is the most acceptable theory that you have to remember, and purely based on the lab. So biological evidences means, for the precursor means that will form the origin of life or form the cell. So precursor of life should have 3 character. So what are those 3 characters that a precursor should have? So first character, they should have self-replicating property. They should replicate themselves. Second, precursor that is responsible for origin of life should be isolated from the environment, isolated from general environment or from the surrounding, right? From the general environment. Means they should have some membrane to separate them from the general environment, and they should undergo mutation. So means there should be the chances of the error or mutation in those molecules. So if a particular molecule that has formed in the primitive earth showing these 3 things, means this is the molecule, or this is the compound that actually formed the origin, or that formed the life, right? So we will see the protobionts. So protobionts actually considered the origin of life, right? So protobionts have, it is the artificially formed in lab, artificially lab-based molecule or structures that is considered the precursor of life, right? So it is of 2 types, coiservates and the microsphere. These are the molecules, right? So when we talk about coiservate, so coiservate actually have the membrane made up of the carbohydrate and protein. So carbohydrate and protein forming the layer, forming the membrane, which is separating it from the general environment, but it cannot reproduce, right? It do not reproduce. So that means we cannot consider it origin of life or precursor of life. But in the case of microsphere, it was having the membrane like bilipid membrane, right? So it was having double membrane like our plasma membrane, and plus it is having the ability to divide. It can reproduce or can divide via budding, right? It was able to reproduce by budding. So that means it was considered as the precursor of life, as it was separated from general environment, and it was able to mutate, plus obviously having the reproduction ability. So that means it was considered the precursor of life, that this molecule actually have given rise the living later or life later or cell later, right? So now let's move towards the another part. Before that, let me talk about that how actually origin of the eukaryotes happen, right? So first of all, we will see the origin of prokaryote. So first of all, origin of cells, how exactly it happens. So suppose first of all, heterotroph organism has originated. Origin of heterotroph happen. Origin of heterotrophs, and that too heterotrophs, and that too chemoautotroph. So first chemoautotroph originated. Chemoautotroph means they are producing their food using, chemoheterotroph. Chemoheterotroph means they are producing their food by fermentation. Heterotroph. So they are just taking the food. So suppose organic matter is there in the environment. They are in the anaerobic condition, because primitive earth used not to have any oxygen, right? So in the anaerobic condition, they are actually fermenting it. Fermentation to produce energy. So this is how exactly they used to produce, they used to use this organic matter, used to break it in the anaerobic condition, fermentation, and energy used to be produced. So in the anaerobic condition means lack of oxygen, right? So there were no oxygen. In absence of oxygen, fermentation is happening and energy is produced for survival, right? So heterotroph, prokaryote heterotroph originated in the for the first time. Next, origin of the autotrophs. So in the autotrophs, for the first time, chemoautotroph originated. So for the first time, chemoautotrophs have been originated. So that means they are taking the chemicals, right? So like iron fixing bacteria, nitrogen fixing bacteria, right? Sulfur fixing bacteria. So we know sulfur fixing bacteria. So all these are using the chemical or inorganic chemical to form the organic matter. So they are converting inorganic to organic for energy. So this is their food. And it is also happening in anaerobic condition, right? So everything is happening in the anaerobic condition. There is no oxygen as of now, right? Now the third, next origin is the photoautotroph, which came, later words. Photoautotroph means in presence of the chlorophyll pigment or in presence of certain pigments. But in earlier earth, the things that we the part that we'll see, right? So in the photoautotroph, what exactly happened? Suppose we are having the bacteria, right? And these bacteria have some pigments like chlorophyll pigment. Suppose they are having the chlorophyll pigment or some respiratory pigment, right? Or photosynthetic pigment. They are having some photosynthetic pigment. So what they were doing, they are using hydrogen source from the H2S, not from the water, right? So they were using the hydrogen, this H2S water from, they were releasing the hydrogen ion from the hydrogen from the hydrogen sulfide, not from the oxygen. So they were releasing hydrogen for energy, you know, the photosynthetic reaction, right? For energy from H2S, not from H2O, not H2O. So that means no oxygen were releasing till then. No oxygen were releasing till then, right? But later, you know, some cyanobacteria came into origin about 3.5 billion years ago. So they started, you know, using water as a source of energy. They have the photosynthetic pigment like chlorophyll, right? Synthetic pigment like chlorophyll they have. They have the chlorophyll pigment, and they are actually releasing oxygen, right? They are releasing oxygen and forming the organic matter also for their energy, right? So oxygen plus hydrogen will be released for the energy source. You know the reaction of photosynthesis, right? That you will do in the botany. So that means they started releasing oxygen, and gradually photosynthetic, organism has originated, right? Now later, gradually when oxygen started releasing, then what happened? In presence of UV rays, it started converting into ozone layer. So this is how exactly ozone layer has formed. Ozone layer has formed this way. So you have to remember that this is how exactly origin of the ozone layer happened, right? So it started forming the ozone layer. And because of ozone layer, what happened? Temperature, UV rays are blocked. UV rays blocked. So these harmful rays are blocked, they are not coming on Earth, and because of that, the visible rays, visible light becomes source of energy, right? Become source of energy for other organism. And then gradually eukaryotic organism originated. Because now the atmosphere became, now the temperature also has reduced, environment started becoming very nice, so origin of eukaryote like cell started happening. Eukaryote started, right? So first of all, eukaryote like organism originated in the aquatic, in the water. So aquatic eukaryote cell-like organism originated, right? Cell-like organism originated. And later, what happened? These aquatic converted into the terrestrial also. Then terrestrial, and then it started unicellular eukaryote. Unicellular eukaryote started colonizing together to form the multicellular eukaryote. And these multicellular eukaryotes converting into the other animals now, or other eukaryotes, other complex eukaryotes. So finally this evolution has started, right? So exactly what happened, what we have seen so far, atoms react to form molecules, molecules react to form inorganic compounds, inorganic compound react to form organic compound, organic form complex organic compound, right? Or gradually this, nitrogenous base, carbohydrate, protein started converting into the complex matter. Protobionts has come, after protobionts, prokaryotic animals has come. Prokaryotic, organism has come, then eukaryotic organism has originated and started evolving. So this is how origin of life happened, right? Isn't it so amazing? So now we will see the theories for evolution now. Theories for evolution of life, right? Theories for evolution. So first theory is Darwin or Lamarck. So when we talk about the Lamarck theory, so he has given the acquired theory, right? So inheritance of acquired character. Inheritance of the acquired character means all the character that we attain throughout life. Acquired means that we attain throughout life will be conveyed to the other organism, right? So inheritance of the acquired character. Or use disuse theory, that means the organ that is used will become very much strong and long, like giraffe neck, because earlier giraffe were eating the grass and grass has disappeared. Now they have to eat the long plants, leaves from the tall plants. So they started stretching using their neck and this leg a lot. So their neck and leg become so strengthened and long, right? So if they use the organ a lot, it become long and strong. And if they don't use it, disuse, so it will just disappear, right? Disuse theory. Use and disuse theory. So if we are using organ like giraffe neck, best example, if giraffe neck becomes so long and strong. And disuse means limbs of snake. So earlier snake used to have limb, but they stopped using them. So what happened? They got disappeared, right? But it was disapproved by second theory of germplasm, right? So it was disapproved. This theory was disapproved by germplasm theory. Germplasm theory. So what is the germplasm theory? It was given by the August Weismann. It was given by August Weismann. Weismann. So what he has actually talked about, that not all the acquired character that we acquired throughout the life will not transmitted until the change is not there in the gametes, right? So according to the Weismann, only differences, only the variations present in germ cells are inherited. So if variations present in the germ cell, in the gamete, they will only get transferred, right? Cells are inherited. Inherited means it will pass from one generation to another only when it is present in the germ cell. So he has done his experiment on the mutilated tail of mice. So he has taken the mice, right? And they have mutilated the tail of mice, both male and female, and mated them. And they saw that all their children have the tails. Now again, he has mutilated the tail of all the offspring and just crossed them together. Then the next generation also have the tail. So he has done this experiment, mutilation of the tail till 20 generation, and he saw that why, if acquired trait are inherited, then I'm cutting their tail. Why they are just reappearing in the offspring? Why they are not getting disappeared? Why this character that I have cut, that I have disappeared from them, why it is reappearing? So in that ways, he concluded that this tail, no matter that for how many generations I cut their tail, but still it will reappear because of germplasm theory. Or because this variation is not present in the germ cell, right? This is not present in the DNA of the germ cell, so hence it will not be transmitted. So this was the germplasm theory that disapproved the acquired inheritance theory. Now the third theory for the origin of life, for the evolution, is the Darwin theory, Charles Darwin. So we know very well Charles Darwin, who has given the natural selection theory. So evolution of life through the natural selection. So he has given the evolution of life via the natural selection, and he wrote a book. He also wrote a book. So he wrote a book known as The Origin of Species, in which he talked about the natural selection, origin of species, right? So you have to remember the name of this book. And you know what is this theory? When we talk about the Darwin, he was so influenced by the particular researcher who worked on the population theory, right? So he was so influenced by Thomas Malthus. So Thomas Malthus has done his work on the population, right? So he worked on population. So from his theory, he was so much influenced, and he used his theory in his theory to explain the or evolution of life via the via this natural selection, right? So what exactly he talked? He said that if population increase, if organism reproducing, population will increase, but resources are not increasing with that much pace. Resources is limited. So what happened now? Because resources are limited and population continuously increasing, competition, right? So they will compete with each other. So what will happen? Now the competition will start between them, and struggle for existence will start. Means now they are struggling to exist. So they have to do the three type of struggle: natural or environmental struggle, because nature has its checkpoint. According to Malthus, he has used the Malthus theory here. So according to Malthus, if population is continuously increasing, then nature also have a capacity. And if our population increase and trying to surpass the capacity of nature, they all will get vanished, right? So means environmental pressure is there. And other one, environmental pressure means, organism is facing the environmental challenges, right? Interspecific competition. Interspecific means between two species, two different species, there is the competition. And other competition is intraspecific. Intraspecific means between same species. So they are just fighting for the resources between the same species. They are competing for the same thing between the species. So they have to go through all type of competition, and from this competition, whosoever is surviving means they have the variation that is required to survive in that environment, right? So if they are having the useful variation, right? If they are having the useful variation to survive, they will be known as fittest. So this is known as survival of fittest, and even he used this survival of fittest term from it was used by Herbert Spencer, sociologist. So it was not the original term of the Darwin, right? It was from the Herbert Spencer. So means those people who are having the advantageous variation, that is giving them advantage to survive in these conditions, means they are fittest, and those organisms who are fittest will survive, right? And they will just reproduce. So they will survive and reproduce, increase their progeny, and obviously pass that useful variation to their progeny. So means successful people will able to increase their progeny. So this is the natural selection. So this is about the Darwin, and plus the same theory, same kind of conclusion, survival of fittest kind of conclusion were given by the another scientist also known as the Alfred Wallace. So you have to remember Alfred Wallace name. So he has done his work on Malay archipelagia. So he has done his work here, and actually he has the same thing to say, right? He concluded the same theory as survival of fittest, means only the fittest people will survive, right? So he has not get so much name, he has not get so much recognition, because Darwin has taken all the credits, right? So next, Darwin, when we talk about the Darwin, he used to explain evolution in two ways. He explained evolution in two ways. And what are those two ways? So one is the branching ways, branching, descent, and other one obviously natural selection, means nature will select the best one, right? Natural selection. So what is the branching? So like trees has the branch. Same way, in this whole earth, all the people have the common ancestry. It means we all have the common ancestor, but according to the situation, we have diverged in different directions. So we are the branches of the same tree. We have the common ancestry, right? So that means life originated from pre-existing life. Originated from pre-existing life like a branch, right? So we are from the pre-existing life. So we are the branch of same tree. We are having the common ancestry, pre-existing life. So this is about the Darwin, right? And according to Darwin, you know, variation are so gradual, so continuous. All the variation will happen very, very slow, right? And very, very predictable. So, you know, this is the variation of the Darwin. But when we talk about the third theory, that is the mutation theory. So when we talk about the mutation theory, which was given by the, in 1901, given by the Hugo de Vries. So according to Hugo de Vries, what he exactly talked about the origin of life. So mutation theory, he has done experiment on primrose. So primrose is a plant. We also we also call it Oenothera lamarckiana. So this is the plant, lamarckiana. So this is the name of the plant, primrose. And what he has observed that, you know, every generation of primrose has the mutation and forming a very different character. So according to him, then he has given the conclusion about the saltation means a single step, in single generation, we are having a lot of mutation and it is giving rise a very different organism to us, right? So he has given his general theory on the basis of this plant. So single step, large mutation cause speciation. In the single step, a large mutation happen and which will form the new species in the next generation itself. So according to him, variation is so fast. Evolution is so fast, right? So according to the Hugo de Vries, variation is so fast. It is so fast. It is random, right? It is fast. It is random. It is directionless. It is directionless, you have to remember, right? Now, it was not completely acceptable because in all the organism it doesn't happen. It is just seen in some organism, right? It is not completely accepted. Completely not accepted. Why? Because it doesn't happen in all the organism. It's not happening in all the organism, right? So now we will see it is happening only in the primrose because it's, or in some other organism also, but in a very few organism because they're so susceptible for mutation. But it doesn't happen in all the organism. Plus mutation theory also didn't talk about the, about the nature, about the role of nature in the evolution and all, right? So it was like variation happening very sudden, very random, very directionless. And in every generation, things will happen, mutation will happen, cause speciation. But it's not true, right? So now we will see, we have seen the theory. And the beautiful point is that all the theories which we have done so far, collectively also not able to explain the evolution. So we will see all the raw material for evolution. But before that, let's see the mechanism of evolution. How exactly evolution is happening. So we know we are having the Hardy-Weinberg principle. We are having the Hardy-Weinberg principle. And we are having the adaptive radiation. Adaptive radiation, that means organisms are basically from a single point are radiating to the different direction or in the same direction, right? That we will see. So we will see adaptive radiation now. So adaptive radiation means they are radiating to different direction, right? So from the common point. So this is their common area, but they are radiating in a various way. Radiating means they are adapting for the adaptation for the different environment. They are changing themselves in that ways, right? So radiating in different direction, as you can see here. So now let's see about the both the things. Let's start with the Hardy-Weinberg first. So Hardy-Weinberg actually talk about the Hardy-Weinberg principle, talk about the origin, talk about the evolution, how exactly evolution happened. And they are like that, all the generations should remain in constant. Constant means they should not undergo any evolution, they should not undergo any change. So means they are against the changes, right? So they are like that genetic equilibrium or population should remain in the genetic equilibrium, right? Population should remain in genetic equilibrium means they should not undergo any changes. So that means they should not undergo any changes. So allele frequencies, all the allele frequencies in population, population should remain one, should remain constant. It should not get changed from population, from organism, or from population to population, right? From one generation to other, it should remain almost always constant. Then only we will consider that no evolution happening. But it doesn't happen in ideal population. It doesn't happen in natural population. Ideally, we can consider that there is no changes. If there is no changes, this will happen. All the frequencies remain one, right? So, but it doesn't happen for the original population. Always they are evolving. So on the using the mathematical expression, with using the mathematical expression, we can find out if they are changing or not, if evolution happening or not. So if the frequency is the one, that means no change, and if it is changed, then one, that means there is some changes, right? So using some mathematical expression, we can find out if the population having the changes, then what are the percentage of the changes, right? So now we just have the mathematical expression for that. P plus Q is equal to 1 means allele frequencies in population. Allele frequencies of a gene in population should remain 1. That means P plus Q. Now I'll ask ma'am, what is P, what is Q? I'll tell you. P is nothing but we know when we talk about the allele. This is one allele, suppose for tall, this is for dwarf. Both of them coding for the height. So this represented by the P and this is represented, means dominant represented by Q and recessive allele represented by Q. So one thing is clear, that P is the frequency. Frequency means mathematical expression, number. Suppose we are talking about height. So suppose 10 people have the dominant, homozygous dominant, 10 people have homozygous recessive, and 10 people are heterozygous dominant, means having this character, right? So frequency means number of people with certain allele. So allele means single T, right? Single T means capital dominant character. So P is the frequency of dominant allele in a population. So what is the frequency of dominant allele in a population? Represented by P. And Q means frequency of recessive allele in a population is represented by the represented by the Q. So now we will do some mathematics here. We will do the squaring both sides, right? So what will be the answer? A plus B whole square. So it will be P square plus Q square plus 2PQ will remain approximately 1. What is P square? P square is the people with the dominant allele. So means this is the people with the dominant allele, right? So this is the frequency of people, not allele, but people. Frequency, because one people have the 2 alleles, we know. One people have 2 allele for a gene, for one character, right? Frequency of people or person with dominant allele, with homozygous dominant condition, right? Both the alleles are dominant. This represents the people with the recessive allele. So this is the frequency of people with, and you have to do some numerical on it also, right? With recessive allele. With recessive allele. That means this condition. And this represents people with the heterozygous condition, right? So this is the frequency, means number of people. Frequency of people with heterozygous condition. With a heterozygous condition. Got it? So you have to remember these 2 points. These 3 points. So now they ask many questions on such concept. So suppose you are given with the recessive allele, right? So suppose they have given the frequency of recessive allele is 0.6. Now they are asking you to, dominant allele, right? Frequency of dominant allele is given this. They are asking you to find out the Q. So you can easily find out the value of Q. How? P plus Q is equal to 1 according to Hardy-Weinberg principle. You know the value of P. So you can easily find out the value of Q by minus this with 1. So answer will be 0.4, right? So suppose they have given the value of P and they're asking you number of people with dominant allele, number of people, frequency of people. So you can easily find out P square. So frequency of people with the dominant allele means this character will be approximately 0. This is the frequency of the people with dominant allele. Are you a dominant, character, right? So if they will ask you to find out the frequency of allele, you have to use this formula. And if they ask you the frequency of the people, you have to use the P square, right? So this is P square frequency of the people, as I have written everything here. So if you will see any question from the previous year, you will be able to solve it very nicely using this formula, right? So this is about the Hardy-Weinberg principle. And this factor, this principle, this, because they are against the evolution. So all the things that bring the changes, they are against, they are going to affect it. So factors that affect genetic equilibrium or Hardy-Weinberg principle affects genetic equilibrium. That means all the things that will bring the evolution are against the genetic equilibrium or Hardy-Weinberg principle. So what are the factors that affects the genetic equilibrium or Hardy-Weinberg principle? First is mutation. Mutation, sudden changes in DNA, sudden change in DNA, in gene, or you can say mutation can be change in the number and structure of chromosome. Change in number and structure of chromosome also cause this problem. Number and position or structure of chromosome, right? Structure of chromosome. So this is something which you have to remember. Next, when we talk about second thing, this will bring mutation, this will bring changes or evolution. That means it will affect the Hardy-Weinberg principle. Second thing is your gene flow. So gene flow means suppose one individual from A population migrate to the B population, means suppose Indian migrate to America. One Indian migrate to America, got married with the American, and now they will be having offspring with different character, right? They will be having Indian and American gene. So that is the gene flow, right? Gene flow means they are moving from one population, this individual moving from one population to other. And also there is the gene migration, Sorry. So gene flow means from a population, from Indian, many Indians migrated to America, and now they are getting married to Americans, and now they are having the people, right? Now they are having the babies with the both characters. Migration means if one people from the country or from this population migrating here and mating with it, right? So means one time what happened, one Indian went to the America, got married there, and they have the kid having both the character with some different like thing, right? Different combination. Then other Indians also got to know this scheme. So they started migrating to other countries this way, right? So in that ways, they started getting married there with that country, and they are bringing so many changes, right? So they are having the offspring with different character. So they will bring changes, means they will affect the Hardy-Weinberg principle. Third is the recombination. You know what is recombination? Recombination in class 11th you must have done. Crossover during meiosis will bring variation, right? So we know during meiosis what happened? Crossing over for the shuffling of the character, right? Shuffling of the character between the homologous and between the homologous chromosome that we know, right? During chromosome between homologous chromosome. So that variation will happen. So that variation will occur. Next thing is the genetic drift. So what is genetic drift? Genetic drift is the change in gene frequencies by chance. Gene frequency means suppose a population of 100 people having 40 people with the black eye, 40 people with the blue eye, 20 people with the red eye, suppose. So these are the frequency. So what is the frequency of people with black eye? 40. What is the frequency of people with blue eye? 40. What is the frequency of people with red eye? 20. So means when the frequencies are changed, right? So suppose now they become out of 40 people with black eye, now only 2 people are left. So there are the change in the frequency, right? So means change in their number. So what is genetic drift? Change in frequencies. Change in gene frequencies. Change in gene frequencies or allele frequencies by chance. Change in the allele frequency, right? Or you can say gene character, right? Gene frequencies in small population. So it is applicable for small population. So bacha, remember one thing, that small population, genetic drift is responsible for the small population. It's seen in the small population only, right? Change in the gene frequency in small population by chance, not by natural selection. Nature is not selecting them, but still their frequency has changed. Why? We will see why. So suppose there is a garden, right? There is a garden, and this garden have the green grass, right? This garden has the green grass, and then this green grass has the red beetle, right? And from nowhere, from somewhere else, you know, one or two blue beetle has come. So generally in the green grass, neither red beetle nor blue beetle have any advantage. Means all of them, both of them will be very much visible to the predator who are eating them. Predators will come and eat them, right? Because both of them cannot camouflage. They are not green color beetle in the green grass, right? Rather, we are having the red color beetle and blue color beetle. Both of them are equally visible on the green field. So one day, elephant was passing by this field, and he put foot on the red beetle and crushed all the red beetle. It happened due to accident. But what happened? It has accidentally crushed all the red beetle, and suddenly the small blue color beetle number has increased, has gone up. So now this blue color beetle population has increased, right? So this blue color beetles number has increased by chance, by accident, not because they have survival advantage, not because nature has selected them, no, because it happened due to accident. So that is the genetic drift. So genetic drift are of two types. What are those two types? Bottleneck effect and founder's effect. Bottleneck effect and founder's effect. So what are these two? As the name suggests, you know bottleneck. So this is the bottleneck and this is the bottle. So bottleneck is narrow in comparison to body. So that means earlier, suppose we are having 1,000 population of tigers, but now they have reduced to 10. Their number has gone down because of poaching, because of some accident, right? Their number has decreased down. So what will happen? Because their number has decreased down means their gene pool has reduced, their genetic variation has reduced. And because of that, they become more susceptible for diseases as they have low variation. So if any disease come, they don't have so many variation. So it doesn't like, they don't have the large population, they have very selected genes in them. So if a very, very dangerous, disease come, perhaps it will extinct whole small population. So they can be extinct. There is the chance of their extinction because they don't have the variation. So very little population have little genetic pool, little variation, and there are more chances of their extinction. So that's why they can extinct, right? So founder effects means suppose this is original population or parent population, right? Original population and parent population, and by chance, by accident, few people has isolated. Few people are isolated. So what they will do? They will start their own journey. They will start their own life. So they will be the founder of this population. So these isolated population from the original one who has started their own journey of life, they started reproducing their own type of people. So they are the founder people of this population. Right? So these are actually genetic drift applicable for very small population. And these small population have less genetic variation, and there are the chances if any disease come or any calamities come, they all get vanished. So it's very dangerous also, right? So genetic drift will bring changes. Next cause that will affect the Hardy-Weinberg principle is natural selection. So when we talk about the natural selection, it's of three types. Let's see the diagram. This is the three types, right? So this is the normal graph and you'll see the three types. This is known as stabilizing selection, stabilizing or balancing selection, first type. So what is happening in it? The extremes are not selected. Extreme means suppose babies, right? So we are having the underweight baby this side, underweight people this side, and overweight people this side. And then these are the average weight people, right? This is the average weight people. So what happened? Nature actually will choose only the average, only the mean character value, not the extreme. So nature has killed the overweight and normal weight, overweight and underweight people. So now the graph become narrow and long, right? It become higher and narrow and long. And mean value remains same. So mean value here remains same. Got it? It will not get changed. We will talk about the second condition known as directional selection. Directional means our nature will select only one direction. So suppose we are having the before industrial revolution in England, white color, the environment was so good, and white lichen used to be on the tree, right? Lichen used to stick on the tree, and on the lichen white color moth used to camouflage themselves. So predator not able to see the moth, light color moth. They are able to hide themselves before industrial revolution. So before industrial revolution this happened. Before industrial revolution, non-melanized or they don't have any pigments, right? Revolution, this happened that white color moth were selected. White moth were selected. And dark color moth used to, when they are sitting on the lichen tree, dark color moth, they were actually seen by the predator and their population were very low. But after industrial revolution, time has changed. After industrial revolution, what happened? Tell me. So after industrial revolution, this tree trunk deposited by the black suit, dark color suit. And obviously lichen is the pollution indicator, so lichen will not grow there. And these dark color moth now started getting camouflaged, and white color moth were not able to camouflage themselves after industrial revolution. So now black color moth has increased after industrial revolution. So what happened? Directional selection, that nature is selecting only one extreme. So after industrial revolution, nature was selecting only, nature selects only one extreme, and eliminate the other extreme. It will be eliminated after industrial revolution. So this graph will shift in one direction. That means this peak will shift in one direction. Mean value will shift in one direction. And third example is the disruptional. Disruptional means here nature will select only both extremes. Nature selects both extreme and not mean value. Both extreme and not mean value. So average people will not be selected. Only the extremes are selected. So two peaks will form and mean value has disrupted, has disappeared. So two peaks are formed in the disruptional selection. And best example is the Darwin finches. So the Darwin finches with the long beak, with very short beak were selected, and the parent population started reducing, right? So this is the three type of natural selection also responsible to affect the Hardy-Weinberg principle. Now let's see the mechanism that is known as adaptive radiation. This is the beautiful example of adaptive radiation. Earlier, these marsupial, Australian marsupial, have the common ancestor. But because they were facing the different environment, because they were living in different environment, so they actually started diverging. They started, looking very different. So you can see that all of them have the common ancestor. They were they were staying at same place, but now they have diverged. So this is the divergent evolution and best example of adaptive radiation, right? Divergent evolution. And same, the other example of divergent evolution is also Darwin finches. So Darwin finches earlier used to have the parent population, but because their population has increased, parent population have the normal beak and they were eating the seed. But because their population has increased a lot, so what they have decided? They have decided to change themselves, to change their beak to different shape. So some, finches, have the long beak to pick up the insect. Some have very, very short and thick beak to crack the nuts and etc., right? So they have changed their beak according to the feeding habit. That is also example of this divergent evolution. Another adaptive radiation is the convergent evolution. So this is also the example of convergent evolution. How? Or we also called it parallel evolution. So what do you understand by parallel evolution or convergent? Means they don't have any common ancestor, but still they are facing the same issues, same environmental pressure. They have same environmental pressure, they have same environmental force, and that's why they have the same character, but they are originated in different way. Means they have different ancestor. They don't have any common ancestor. They have different ancestor, but they look same. They appear same because they are facing the same environmental pressure. So this is the best example that these are the placental mammals. All these are the placental mammals, means they have the placenta. They have different ancestor. And all these are the marsupials, means pouched animals. Marsupials, but they look very similar. Anteater look very similar to this. Mouse look very similar to marsupial mouse. Lemur look same, and this is same, this is same. So why they are same to each other? Because they are living in different environment. They are not present in same environment. They are living in different environment, but still they look very different. Sorry, they live in the different environment, but still they look same because they have the same situation, same conditions, same problem, same forces in different environment. Hence they can relate with each other. They are related. They are looking very similar, although they don't have any similarity. Even they are not living in same places, right? So they are living in Australia, they are living in somewhere else, but still they look similar because they are facing in those different region, they are facing the same type of environmental pressure, and that's why they become very similar to each other. They are able to understand the feeling of each other because they are undergoing the same conditions, right? So this is the example of convergent evolution, adaptive radiation. Next is so this is the convergent evolution, right? Not the adaptive, but yeah, convergent evolution that you have to remember. Now let's discuss about the evidences of evolution. So when we talk about evidences, so we are having the paleontological, means study of fossils, dead remains. Example, what is the example of fossils? Dead remains, right? Dead remains of any organism. So you can say example is Archaeopteryx. So we have got the Archaeopteryx, this what we call fossil, and we have got to know that it is having the birds and reptiles, both the character of birds and reptiles, means birds originated from the reptiles, right? So this is the first evidences. Second is the anatomical, means how they look like. Anatomical evidences. So in our NCERT, they have given two beautiful examples of anatomical evidences. First one is the homologous. Homologous. So homologous organs means they have common origin. They have common origin but different function, because they are living in different environment. So they have the similar origin but have different function because living in different environment, adapted to different environment, right? So what are the example of this divergent? Homologous are divergent because common origin but divergent, having different functions, so diverged, right? Different environment, facing different environment, different conditions. So man having 4 limbs of these vertebrates, all of them have the same structure, same origin, but different function, modified for different function. Man using something for holding, cheetah using it for running, whale is using it for swimming, their 4 limbs, right? Using their 4 limbs for swimming. Bat is using it for flying. So all of these are the homologous, same origin but different functions, right? They are just, different function. So vertebrates, although these all are mammals, right? Vertebrates, 4 limbs of mammals, you can say. 4 limbs of mammals is the example. Next example is the thorn of Bougainvillea, tendril of cucurbita, originated from the same origin. They have the same origin, that is auxiliary bud. They are having the same origin, that is auxiliary, but different function. Tendril is providing support to the plant and thorn is providing protection to the plant. Got it? So this is about the homologous organ. Next is the analogous. So when we talk about analogous organ, what is it? Analogous organs means having different origin but living in facing same environmental condition, hence have same function. So same function because living in same environment, like because they are facing the same condition and they are having the different origin. They don't have the similar origin. So what is the best example here of analogous organ? So the best example of whom analogous is flippers, for swimming. Flippers of penguin and dolphin have different structure but same function, that is swimming. So they are analogous. Example, wings of butterfly and insect. So butterfly and insect wings both used for flying but having different structure, different origin. Next example is eye of octopus and mammals. Both used for seeing vision, but they are having different origin. They look very different. They have different structures, right? So is it clear? So this is about the analogous organ. Now, other evidences is the embryological evidences, which was given by Ernst Haeckel, right? So it was given by Ernst Haeckel. So according to Ernst Haeckel, what did he says? So he says that all the development of embryo ontogeny repeats phylogeny means evolutionary history. So what does it means? All the embryonic development of vertebrates having the same structure. So that means they are repeating their ancestors' character, repeating history, evolutionary history. But then it was criticized by. So he used to say that, early stages of embryo are same in all the vertebrates. Why? Because they have the same common ancestors. But this theory was disapproved by. It was disapproved by whom? It was disapproved by von Meyer. So you have to remember this name, von Baer. So the full name of the von Baer is the Ernst von Baer. So when we talk about the Carl Ernst von Baer, so according to him, that if that is the case, ontogeny recapitulate phylogeny, as Ernst Haeckel said, he was like, okay, that means the complex vertebrate or complex organism, animal, should also repeat the adult stage of the lower organism, but it's not happening. So how can you say this? So actually he disapproved this theory by giving the argument that obviously embryos never pass through the adult stage, through adult stage of other animals, right, of lower animals, you can say. So that means it is not true. It's not holding completely true. So he has disapproved the Ernst Haeckel, right? Now we are just seeing the other part that is given in our NCERT about the origin of other organisms, right? So if we see this graph, so they have just talked about these dinosaurs. So you can see that, This is the early reptiles known as synapsida, give rise the synapsida, sauropsida. Then sauropsida gave rise this turtle and lizard, as we can see. Synapsida is basically originated into Therapsida, and Therapsida gave rise the mammals. So means our ancestor is the reptile Therapsida, as you can see in the diagram, although it's not required, right? All these are the time period. Time period means geological time period, and geological time period is basically, what's biological event is happening with the reptiles, they are showing it. So next thing that you have to remember here is the dinosaur. So they have actually talked about the dinosaurs got extinct from the earth because of some meteoroids. So there are many hypotheses behind it. Mass extinction of dinosaur, and you have to remember the name of one dinosaur, that is the Tyrannosaurus, so which is given in our NCRT. So Tyrannosaur is the biggest dinosaur. It used to be carnivores, means were eating veg, non-veg, everything, and if they were existing now, they would have been eating us, right? So yeah, biggest, and they were having approximately 20 feet height. So imagine 20 feet building, 20 feet, and they have daggers, some very dangerous daggers, some like teeth, right? So daggers, some teeth. They have very, very dagger-like teeth. So fearsome dagger teeth, fearsome, very, very dangerous, right? Fearsome dagger-like teeth. So means they were having very dangerous teeth also, and it's the biggest dinosaur, 20 feet long, towering dinosaur, right? Next is the evolution of plants. So they have given in a NCRT about the plants evolution, in which they have talked about the aquatic. They have talked about the aquatic, origin of the plants from the aquatic algae. So aquatic algae gave rise the other plants like bryophytes or tracheophytes. So they actually originated from the plants like this plant from the aquatic algae, right? So that is the origin of the plants, right? From the aquatic green algae. You have to remember, this is known as the common ancestor of them. So this is the ancestor of the bryophytes and tracheophytes plant. So what else they have given in our NCRT in the origin and evolution? So they have actually talked about the origin of the amphibians from the fishes, and then they have talked about the origin of reptiles, so origin of reptiles from the amphibians. So they have given a beautiful points in NCRT, like about the fishes. So they have talked about various type of origin of the various type of fishes. And when we talk about the coelacanth, so when we talk about the coelacanth, which is the lobe fin, so this is the fish. So this is basically the bony fish, and they thought that it got extinct, but they found it in the African lake, right? So when we talk about the lobe fins, it's a jaw-bearing fish, jaw-bearing bony fish. It evolved around 350 million years ago. So it evolved around this time. Important for the NEET. And then it thought to get extinct. They thought it get extinct, but they found it in the Africa in 1938 in South Africa. They have found it. Africa, they found it. So they have very, very strong stout. Stout means their mouth. They have the strong stout. It's bony, having the strong fins. They have very strong, stout, bony, and it's having the very strong fins also. And it can move to the water and land also. So some of them think that coelacanth also gave rise to the amphibians, right? So coelacanth actually gave rise the this what we called this amphibians, right? So some of the text says that coelacanth also responsible for the evolution of amphibians. So they evolved into amphibians. And then amphibians evolved into reptiles. Reptiles gave rise to birds and mammals, right? So birds and mammals. And first mammals were shrew-like. First mammals were shrew-like, small in size. So next, when we talk about the last part of the chapter, that is the human evolution. So when you will see that table of the plant origin, they have just shown one thing in that plant origin, that is the their common ancestor is the aquatic green algae, which give rise other plant that you will see in that graph, right? Which is given in our NCERT. Last one is the human evolution. So when we talk about human evolution, it is having the three parts. Prior to ape man means before ape man, right? Then we are having the ape man, and then we are having the modern man. So means man has the three category, right? So they're what we call hominids, or you can say they're fossils. We have got different fossils of these animals, right? So let's start with the prior to ape man, having the Dryopithecus. So Dryopithecus is more ape-like. So when we talk about the Dryopithecus, we got it 15 million, it were existing 15 million years ago. And they have the large muzzle. Muzzle, you know, they have the protruded face like animals, right? So they have the protruded mouth like ape. They are more ape-like. They are more ape-like. They have the long arms in comparison to leg, right? And they are the knuckle walker, walking in on their knuckles. So they are the knuckle walker. Now when we talk about the second prior to ape man is the Ramapithecus. So both of these Dryo and Ramapithecus, you know, they are monkey-like. Means they are having so much hair on their body, right? So they are gorillas like. So, but this Ramapithecus was having the monkey body, but more man-like, right? So it was more man-like. Were arboreal. Arboreal means living on trees. And quadruped. Quadruped means walking on two legs. Oh, sorry, four legs, right? So that's about the Ramapithecus. So when we talk about the other one, that is the ape man. So third one is the ape man, Australopithecus or Pithecine, right? So when we talk about this, it's the first ape man. I have told you, this is the first ape man, you have to remember it. So we have got fossils Australopithecus africanus. So this fossil was actually found from the Tuang village. So it was the fossil of a baby. So we called it Tuang baby. And second fossil is the Australopithecus afarensis. It was the fossil of a lady. So we call that fossil Lucy by the name Lucy. Lucy is the name of a lady, right? Because it was the lady fossil. When we talk about Australopithecus, they are having the human-like teeth. Human-like teeth. And their capacity, cranial capacity, were approximately 400 to 600 cranial capacity, right? And plus they don't have any chin, but they are having the brow ridges. Their brow ridges, this part is protruded, right? So they are having the brow ridges protruded. So they are ape man, first ape man. Now second ape man, after them, they have given rise the second part, second animal, second hominoid, that is the Homo habilis. So Homo habilis considered very skillful man, handy man, because they were using the tools, right? So we call them handyman or tool makers. So for the first time, they were making this tool. And you know what? If we talk about they have the tools, but according to our NCERT, they did not eat meat. They were vegetarian, right? They were not eating any meat and started, when we talk about their cranial capacity, it was approximately 650 to 800. It was approximately 650. So now cranial capacity is increasing in all the hominoid, right? After Homo habilis, we are having the other ape man, that is the Homo erectus, found in Java. So we called it Java man also, right? And one found in the Heidelberg, Germany, Heidelberg man, right? So on the basis of that, we are having various fossils found from different region, Java, Heidelberg and all. So Homo erectus, as the name suggests, they are walking erect in an erect way. They were existing approximately 1.5 million years ago. Probably eat meat. According to NCRT, they were eating meat, right? And they use fire for the first time. Use of fire for the first time, and they have 900 cranial capacity. Again, very important. Now the sixth, the modern man. So first modern man is the Neanderthal man. Neanderthal man. So when we talk about the Neanderthal man, they are the first modern man. So actually they have the prognathous face. Prognathous means their face is like protruded out. Prognathous face, like monkey face, right? And they have cranial capacity approximately more, 1400 cranial capacity. They were very skilled hunter, and they used to bury their what we call deads, right? So they have the community life. They were living in the cages, so they use the hides, animal hides, to protect their body, right? To protect the body. They protect the body, and they were buried the deads. So means they have the religion and they have some community life also, right? So now the seventh is the Cro-Magnon, also called as Cro-Magnon, also called as Homo sapiens fossilis. So Neanderthal, also known as Homo sapien neanderthalensis, it is known as Homo sapiens fossilis. So they were having so much cranial capacity, approximately 1650 cranial capacity, so much brain, right? Approximately 1600 cranial capacity. Have done cave arts. So the cave arts that we got from their time, and they are more man-like. They are like us. They have the chin also. They have the chin also, right? And yes, they have the flat face like us. Orthognathous means flat face like us. Like we have the flat face, they also have the flat face. And Cro-Magnon are our ancestor. So we are the ancestor, like we are having the ancestor Cro-Magnon, right? So now the present man, also known as Homo sapiens sapiens. So when we talk about these people, they don't undergo so much biological changes, but yeah, they having the they have undergone the cultural changes. So for approximately they have this much cranial capacity, and they brought about the scientific. They brought this scientific revolution, means they changed culturally, industrial revolution, and they have just acquired all part of the earth, agriculture revolution. So all this cultural revolution brought up by the modern present man, right? So that's all about this chapter. So we have covered each and every part. I hope you like the video, and we will be doing other chapters also. And in summary also, we have summarized everything very nicely. Have a great day, kids.